QI, where we bring you a television first, a quiz show with no answers. Yes, tonight we depart from the certainties of everyday life to explore the realm of hypothetical questions. Or do we? It's a job for only the very finest minds, by which I mean the potential Johnny Vegas, the possible Sandy Toksvig, and the increasingly unlikely Alan Davis. Now, tonight is the 99th recording of QI, and to celebrate, we have with us the man who thought it all up in the first place. He can dish it out, but let's see if he can take it. Mr. John Lloyd! Wow. They all have appropriately quizzical buzzers. Sandy goes... Johnny goes... John goes...
Ooh,
And Alan goes...
Oh, sir, I know, me, sir.
As if. And let's open our minds now to the possibilities of question one. What's the best way to weigh your own head? Any thoughts?
Well, cut it off, obviously, would be...
Yes, but then someone else could weigh it, but you couldn't, you see? That would be the problem. You wouldn't... And the question was...
Because you introduced us, and I normally introduce me last.
Yeah.
It slightly caught me out, and I was applauding myself.
Alan Davis! That's what...
And I was applauding myself insincerely.
That's what Soviet leaders do, isn't it? Or chimpanzees. Yeah. One or the other. Yeah.
Why would you want to weigh your own head? It's a sort of a boys' thing, isn't it? You can imagine some poor woman married to a scientist and she's at home and she's wormed the dog and fed the children and got everything sorted and her husband gets home and goes, "Good news, dear, I've weighed my own head."
I grant you, it may not seem like the most useful thing to do, but it does employ interesting scientific ideas on which we all depend.
Is it that thing that David Frost used to tell that joke for years and years? The, do you want to lose 12 pounds of unsightly fat? Cut off your head.
Was that his joke?
He used to tell that a lot, yeah.
What is one of the most famous ancient moments of scientific discovery?
Well,
Archimedes. Is it Archimedes in the bath?
Archimedes in the bath. Now, tell me, what did Archimedes do and why did he...
So would you have to put your head in the bucket?
Oh, right. Oh, is that right?
I have no idea.
Yes, join in.
I was going to weigh myself, go to the swimming baths.
Yeah.
Right, and bob, and then get people to feed me until I sank. Then come back out and weigh myself again.
Yeah.
And
that sounds much more scientific.
So by displacement of the water, you can tell...
Yeah, you take a big bucket and you fill it full of water and you drop your head in, and because water and the density of your head are about the same, you get a very close approximation by the amount of water that you displace.
You could put apples in to make it fun.
You could bob for apples to make it fairer, yes.
And what did your head weigh when you tried this?
What would you say is the average weight? The University of Sydney has a department where they weigh heads quite a lot, and they have a pretty good average.
By dunking them in buckets? Do they?
They don't actually dunk them in buckets.
Is it 12 pounds?
It's 4.5 to 5 kilos, which is...
I have no idea.
Well, that's
5 kilos is 11
kilos.
Yeah. Not far. Yeah. 2.0.
It's about 12 pounds.
Yes, it's about 12 pounds. Well done. I'm going to give you a point for 12 pounds, John.
See if they'd have negotiated some points.
Surely you should give those points to David Frost, who thought of the 12 pounds in the first place.
Well, that's true. Or who's
Only
right
he
it
hadn't
did.
cut his head off.
Yeah.
What if you get an air pocket in your ears?
A pocket.
You know, the air pockets?
Yes, but the air cavities are cancelled out.
Take your
by
fingers out, you won't hear the answer.
The bones, you have bones that are denser than water and air pockets that are lighter than water, and together it does seem that the head averages about water, so it's a good displacement test. But there is a modern piece of technology that can do it to frightening degrees of accuracy.
Bound to be a laser or something like that.
Well, no, it's a CAT scan, a CT, and they can tell the density of every little tiniest part of the brain and the skull and all the rest of it, and tot it all up.
My dad's got heavy eyes.
Has he now?
Yeah.
Have you weighed his eyes? Or
No, we've not weighed him, but he's very fearful of leaning forward.
Do they come out?
It's sleigh. He doesn't like
crash through his grass.
doesn't like leaning forward. He thinks they're going to come out.
Like on springs, like those things you can buy.
No, we got rid of novelty, Dad. This is mental, Dad.
Do you know, my grandfather had 2 glass eyes, and yet he could see. So what happened was, he's sad, he lost one eye, but he wasn't careless, he was ill. And he had a glass eye made, which was perfect, exactly like his other perfectly working blue Scandinavian eye, and then he had one made that was bloodshot. And it was known as Grandpa's party eye. And he kept it in a box on the mantelpiece. And when he was going out for the evening, he'd take out the false blue one, he'd put in the bloodshot one, and he'd say, "I'm going out now, and I shan't be back till they match."
Oh, that's brilliant! That's brilliant. Fantastic. And I seem to remember you
I
telling
thought
me...
he had 2 glass eyes like that.
I know, that would be silly.
Did he have a hole at the back where somebody put that? Was your granddad Nookie Burr?
On the subject of heads, do you know anything about Sir Francis Drake? No, I don't mean Sir Francis Drake. But as I've mentioned him, do you know anything about him?
Something to do with bowling.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He was in the Navy.
Let's move on from Francis Drake. Thanks for ringing up. What do you know about Sir Walter Raleigh?
He invented the bicycle.
His wife carried his head around in a bag for more than 30 years after he died.
Excellently
A velvet
correct.
bag.
In a velvet
it was.
bag.
A red velvet bag, yes. Sir Walter was executed. And,
See why John had to invent a show for this kind of information.
Yes, exactly.
Carries around with him.
You carried around much as Lady Raleigh carried around the head.
It was on Buzzcocks last week.
Was it?
What sort of a bag? Was it a sealed bag? Like
It was a sort of velvet...
like a cool box?
I don't know. People did keep heads.
I bet it was a few years before anybody wanted to sit next to her at dinner.
Oh, no, Lady Raleigh, I'm
Yes,
sure
do you
that's
not
true.
think?
Oh, I'm sure.
People go, "Oh, she's not going to bring the head, is she?"
Very fine. Don't know how we got there, but like many of the questions in tonight's show, there's no one correct answer, but dunking your head in a bucket might be a good start. And if that hasn't got you scratching your head, when might you engage in paradoxical undressing?
So you're undressing, but you're actually dressing.
No, it's not really
Is
paradoxical.
it physics or some physics or mathematics?
No,
Is it counterintuitive undressing?
that's
So-
much more what it is.
So taking your clothes off if Jeremy Clarkson asks you would be
Meow.
silly.
It's taking your clothes off when taking your clothes off looks like the worst possible idea you could have.
Is it some effect of hypothermia? Is it some mental
exactly what it
thing
is.
that does to you?
It may be mental, it may be physical. It's not quite understood, but one of the...
Oh, that is very unpleasant.
Yeah, it's-
Go back to the previous picture.
Yeah, it's one of the peculiar side effects of hypothermia when you're actually dying of cold.
You feel
one
hot.
of almost the last thing you do, very commonly, not always, is take all your clothes off. And people think it may be a delusional thing, but it also is part of the fact that your blood vessels near your skin tend to just give up and open. And it may be that people feel very hot. Because you never survive once you've got to that stage, you can't actually ask someone why they did it. But it is a common thing for people to do, and they're
I went in
freezing.
freezing water once in New Zealand, and I screamed a lot and swam about a bit, and then I got out and I was completely shocking, livid pink, and felt hot. So that was perhaps seconds from death then.
Maybe you were. Maybe you're one of the few who survived it.
Yeah.
Well, what sort of temperature do you think would start you on the road to hypothermia? Body temperature, I don't mean outside temperature.
What's the temperature in here?
Really, I'd say pretty quickly. I don't think you'd have to drop much, maybe 4 or 5 degrees below normal body
Basically, that's
temperature.
right, 35 degrees Celsius, once your body temperature starts to get below that. And interestingly, in the coldest cities in the world, hypothermia is very rare. It's much more common in places like Britain, where it doesn't get very cold at all. There's a very remarkable Briton called Lewis Pugh. Have you heard of Lewis Pugh? He's a man who's able to control his own body temperature. He does endurance cold swimming. As far as we know, he's the only person known to science who can do what he can do. He can swim in cold conditions unlike anybody else, and he is able to raise his body temperature at will. It's completely startling. He
He's a
can stop
superhero.
himself shivering. He is really an incredible figure, and we contacted him. And he said that he thought he could do this.
He's not coming in here because it's free.
He said he thought he could do this because he had trained himself, as it were, over years and years and years to do these endurance swims in incredibly cold waters. And then his body, as it were, saw it coming and prepared for it. That was his only explanation. But
cold water has a bad effect on a boy. I mean, he looks good there. I bet he doesn't fill his swimming trunks when he gets off.
Well, maybe that.
But actually, this is not that unusual. We went on this yoga thing recently, and the yoga teacher was saying that these sadhus in India can do this body-raising thing. And in fact, they do it. They did some scientific experiments in the States where they shipped in these guys, you know, little wiry guys with turbans on, and they put wet towels on them. And they'd turn up their own body temperature, and they would literally steam the towels dry in a few minutes. Extraordinary.
Can you hire these people?
Yeah.
Well, a good act. They get on Britain's Got Talent.
That'd be really good.
Don't you?
What are you going to do? I'm going to dry this wet towel.
You could do patterns on wet towels with your hand. It's art.
Anyway, paradoxically, the last thing people do when they're freezing to death is to take all their clothes off. But now it's time for a round of quick-fire hypotheticals.
Quick-fire hypotheticals!
So, all you have to do is tell me the first thing that comes into your head, basically. All right, it's a quick-fire hypothetical question. Let's say you found a fallen tree in the forest. Right? Obviously, it fell down before you arrived, but did it make a sound as it fell?
Ooh,
No.
Well, no one's going to say yes.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, do you know where this question comes from, as it were?
It's a
Bishop
famous...
Berkeley.
Bishop Berkeley, yeah.
Philosophical question, isn't it?
That if there's no one to hear a sound...
Is there a sound?
Is there a sound? It depends so much what you mean by sound, doesn't it?
Well, there isn't, because sound is the vibration of the eardrum. There is no sound,
Is it?
but there's no one to hear it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it depends, though, because part of the definition of sound is that there has to be a recipient for the sound.
Yeah.
Doesn't there? There's the thing that makes the noise, and there's the transmission of the noise, and then there's the reception of the noise.
Yeah.
But if there's no reception of the noise, then maybe the noise doesn't exist.
Other things are still vibrating. Whether that vibration counts as a sound or not is
But
a
when's the forest
That's the
ever
definition
empty?
of sound is what happens in the ear. There isn't any sound if there's no one to hear it.
It's a mooty point.
If there's a speed of
Yeah.
sound and it's only what happens in the ear, well, how do you get that speed between that and your ear?
Do you know,
Maybe by the time that tree's fallen, you got there, that sounds halfway around the world and making someone else maybe nervous. Ah!
So, Stephen, are you sure about this?
Well, no one is sure. That is the point. That's why it's a hypothetical. No one knows. I mean, to a semanticist or a neurologist, they may say that sound is that, but to a physicist, they would say the propagation of sound waves is sound. Whether or not there is an ear to vibrate, it is a sound wave. And if it's a sound wave...
I disagree that they are sound waves, because if you go...
You may disagree, but you're welcome to. But you're
They're
not...
vibrations,
you're
but
not
they only become a sound wave when there's an ear to receive it. It's unlike... Do you remember we talked about a thing that really astonished me? Did you know that light's invisible? It's the most extraordinary thing. If you, in a dark vacuum, if you shoot a beam of light across the eyeballs like that, you can't see it. Because
Yeah,
you
but
can
what
only
about
see what
sound?
light hits. And it's the same thing, but people said, but that's a stupid answer, because the definition of light is something that goes into your eye and is then received. Until it does that, it's not light.
But we have all kinds of things like not ears, for example. Are you saying that it's not sound if it registers on a recording device that is left there without a human there? That it's bending the needle of a recording device? Does the machine not hear? Is it not a sound wave that is actually causing the machine to register?
Well, but in Bishop Berkeley's...
I talked about you, not about Bishop Berkeley
Yes.
entering a field. The point is, it's not as simple as just to say yes or no. That's why it's a good question. It's a good question. We would have unfairly forfeited someone who said yes just as much as somebody who
I
said
thought
no.
you said there was no right answer to this.
There is no, that's why I said there is. That's why it's a good question. There is no right answer. So your yes and your no are both. That's
I bet it made a
So
headline.
whatever I said, it would have been...
Yeah, I'm afraid.
So if the tree fell down and there was no one there to see it fall, it should still be upright.
Very true.
My only conclusion.
You're right. Yeah.
Anyway, Alan, are you keeping well?
Yeah.
But Alan,
Anyway.
It's a hell of a bang.
Yeah. It's a quick-fire hypothetical, don't forget, so we move on. OK. All right. You're talking to an
I
alien...
can't do quick fire.
Yes, you can, darling.
If a quick-fire hypothetical round takes a really long time, is it still a quick-fire?
Good point. We'll find out. Very good point. You're talking to an alien in a distant galaxy by radio. How could you explain which is right and which is left?
Breaker, breaker.
That would do it, wouldn't it? Just by saying breaker, breaker, he would know.
Well, it depends what height mast he had, but yeah, he should.
It's nice to be talking...
There's got to be alien truckers.
Yeah. It's a fair point. They must move
I'll tell him what's left and right, and if he's got a smoky on his ass.
Right.
Hypothetically, are we looking at any common reference point?
That's the point. You can't...
Can you see Mars? Yeah, well, we're on the right. Can you see the spot on Jupiter?
Yes, you'd have to have something to reference.
That's the point. You can't... Semantically, there is no explanation for left or right without reference to a physical world that someone can identify. You can't explain it just by language. That is really the point of the question.
Well, if they visited in a ship, you could give them a temporary tattoo.
Yes, you could do that,
Left
which is
and
why
right.
we framed the question so specifically, saying that
Or talking on a
temporary
radio.
tattoos were out.
Sorry.
Yeah,
I'm just a
remote galaxy.
problem solver by nature.
No, it's good.
And anyway, they might not have, because we always draw them in that shape with 2 eyes. What if they've got 4 eyes and 8 arms and they don't have 1 or 2 things?
Yeah.
Exactly. They may not be symmetrical in any way. Yep.
They might have other dimensions and all sorts.
Yeah, they might have 19 versions of left.
Yeah.
Yes?
Can you imagine that in a
right.
sat-nav? Left!
Not that one. Not that one. Not that one.
Why do we always draw them like that?
I have no
It's so
idea.
strange. They might just have 1 eye in the middle of their head.
Yes. Certainly the ones that probe me look nothing like that.
Do you have a little thing in your head which is a mnemonic for when you forget which is left or right temporarily? Do you do that?
I walk into traffic. Sort out straight away.
Yeah. Why, do you have a problem?
I do. No, I don't. But if I have to think, well, I remember the thumb I used to suck when I was a very small child. That's my right hand. Is no
Like
one
a
else have
therapy
this?
session, this. It's a wonderful story about a famous ocean liner captain, and he had a little silver box that he kept in his pocket, and every time before they came into port, he'd open up the little silver box and he would look and put it away. And after many, many years' service, when he finally died, his second-in-command said, I just must have a look in the silver box and see what it is. And he opened up the box and it said, port, left, starboard, right.
That's brilliant.
You always get that right, though, don't you?
Yes, that's the point, though. You can't really find out. Now, a lorry load of birds are being weighed on a weighbridge. At some moment, all the birds simultaneously rise off their perches and flap in the air.
So they're all alive.
They're all alive,
right.
yeah. Does the lorry weigh less
Yes.
when they rise up in the air?
Yes.
No.
Well, only if they...
Got a yes and a no?
So they're not in contact with the actual
No.
thing, so no, it would
Don't
weigh
they-
less.
No,
Is it sealed, the lorry?
It's a closed, it's got a tailgate, it's all locked up. They're inside the lorry, you can't see them. That's just
But wouldn't there be pressure from the air?
Yeah.
It's not. They don't. It weighs the same, and it's got something
Yes.
to do. It's something very similar to if you weigh yourself and then you go and do a number 2 and weigh yourself again, you don't lose the weight of the number 2.
Now, there we're in a slightly different territory. I was so proud of you. I was so
You will
giving
crap
you...
on the scales. That's
You're right. The answer is not to poo on the scale.
No.
Leave the scales, do the number 2, come back to
What?
You don't lose
You don't
of course
lose
you
it
do.
when you...
Of course you do.
money I've wasted on
I
animals.
know, no, I know. I've argued this, but no, it doesn't. It weighs the same, and I can't remember the reason why. I know this.
So they all lift off at exactly the same
Yeah.
time.
Now, the fact is, it is weighing. It's a bird, the bird
Where does the
lorry
egg get-
system. It's there in the... I know it's weird.
Is it
but
sealed? Is it to do with it being sealed?
Yeah.
Because if you're carrying a bowling
The dis-
ball and you're on the scales and then you throw the bowling ball in the air...
Yeah. It's you're part of
it'll
something
kill
when you're
you.
inside
No,
it.
Yeah, but because it's sealed,
And the air's moving... Exactly.
you and the air have
Yeah.
created that weight. So whenever the birds put themselves within
Yes.
there, it still weighs the same.
But the interesting question, and you're absolutely right, I mean, you can sort of test
Don't
it.
pass it off that easily.
Yeah. But the interesting question is, if it's an open-top lorry, and they're all sitting on the perch, and they jump up, and they jump up slightly higher, and then they're actually out of the system. They're no longer part of the lorry bird system. Then it would be lighter. Well, there we are. Well done, everybody. That was, perhaps now it's time to move on from our hypotheticals.
That was very quick.
So, hypothetical problems are, of course, the curse of the practical man, but hypothetically, what would happen if Schrödinger put a Siamese cat in the fridge?
In the fridge?
Yeah.
Well, he wouldn't know if it was alive or dead.
Oh, good. You're referring to Schrödinger's cat, which is...
Yeah,
what?
I'd learned about this on Horizon.
Very good.
You don't know until you open the door, do you, whether the cat is alive?
That is the sort of quantum paradox of Schrödinger's cat, yes.
You're putting the Siamese cat in the fridge?
Yeah.
What is the question?
What would happen to the cat? It would get cold.
It would get
What
cold.
would happen to the fridge? There'd be less milk left, probably.
It would eat all the tuna melt.
All the tuna melt would go, yes. But something quite extraordinary would happen.
It would turn into an ordinary cat.
Well, almost.
Dog.
Almost.
Turn into a dog.
No. Nor is it that remarkable.
In seconds.
No. What do you... Let's have a look at the Siamese cat and see what's particular about it.
White body, black face. Ah, so
Black
it gets
face
a black
and-
body and a white face.
It's got a white body and a black tail and black ears and,
And
black
black
mouth
socks.
and black socks. In other words, black extremities. What is particular about the extremities of any mammal?
They're cold, right?
So if you put the whole animal in a fridge,
Right.
Yeah.
It goes black.
it goes black, Johnny. You're
That's
absolutely
death,
right.
though, isn't it?
Yeah.
There. That's what happens.
Oh,
Its fur has this peculiar colourant that keeps it pale in warm blood heat, but there's only a small difference in temperature down, and it will lose the white or gain the black, whichever way you prefer to look at it.
And when you take it out, does it go pale again?
Yes, it will go back to its normal colour again.
would it be
The same-
worth trying
I
just
would,
for the
yeah.
laugh,
Would-
wouldn't it? I don't like cats very much. I think, what a fun...
Oh.
Even though I'm sorry, so many cats, so few recipes. I just think... I just think it sounds like fun.
You can also try it on a Himalayan rabbit. They have the same issue.
Will they get
Please
hold of?
don't try
Please
to-
don't. No. Do you know about buttered cat?
When you-
There's a recipe. straight away.
Buttered cat
Delicious.
syndrome.
Oh, you put butter on their paws to stop them going
There
home
is that.
when you moved house or something.
But this is a kind of paradox, really, because there are two laws, aren't there? One is that if you have a piece of buttered toast and you drop it, what happens?
It falls butter side
It
up.
falls butter side down. And if you drop a cat, what happens to the cat?
Falls butter side up.
No, careful. It
Lands
falls
on
down.
its feet.
So if you were to put a piece of toast with the butter up and attach it to a cat,
That's very funny.
right, what would happen is the cat would drop and it would have to revolve forever. Because
Then you've got
the
that.
two laws would compete and it would be in total balance.
Would it work with margarine?
I don't know. I think the law doesn't state that the margarine falls downwards.
Well,
What
That's
about
a
I
cat
can't,
that really-
I can't believe it's not butter.
What if it was margarine, but the cat believed it was butter?
The placebo effect. Exactly. Brilliant. You've all got the point.
What if cats discovered this and started to migrate?
Where would they go?
I don't know. What is it? It's just a cat with a piece of toast. I'm not going to dictate.
Let's just keep it from them. So, yeah. The point is, if you put a Siamese cat in the fridge for long enough, and actually it would have to be quite a long time, probably weeks, it would go black. And you absolutely mustn't. But after that voyage through a land where there are no wrong answers, we come at last to one where there is rarely a right one. The realm of general ignorance. So put your fingers on your buzzers and stop me when you know what I'm talking about now. It's an insectivorous mammal. It's found all around the world. It's active at night. It's almost totally blind.
Bat.
A bat? No. You were so right until the last part. Yeah.
Not blind then.
Anteater, what did you say?
No, not an anteater, no.
A
It's
mole.
insectivorous, so it could eat ants.
Is it a mole?
A mole is the right answer.
I said mole.
Oh, did you?
I
I'm
just said
sorry.
mole.
Did he say mole, ladies and gentlemen?
No,
you get
because
the point.
sound is just a thing and it didn't chop.
Yeah, if you didn't hear me say mole, then I didn't say mole. Yeah.
So you need the points, I suspect, Alan, after
Yeah,
the bat
I think I
thing.
probably
No,
do.
there are about 1,100 different species of bat, and none of them is sightless. Not one is
The
blind.
mole completely sightless, then?
It can just about distinguish between light and dark, but essentially it's blind.
You can tell if the
Certainly a lot-
telly's on or off.
Yes, if you like. It's a lot.
Yeah, you can't tell if it's on standby.
How many moles do you think there are in Ireland?
None.
You're right, there are none. They
Right.
They were very poly with the snakes.
well, glaciation and the separation of Ireland from the rest of the place, they never got back because it was then an island.
They can tunnel.
Like snakes, they could tunnel. If any animal could tunnel, it would be a mole.
Oh, sweet, look.
You say sweet, but almost certainly all photographs of moles that are taken are of dead moles. Because they fluff them up, and you can't tell because their eyes are always
It's
little
like
black
all those
slits.
greetings card pictures, you know, of a cat in a deck chair or a cat hitting a mouse with a spoon.
Yeah.
They're all dead.
Yeah. I fear so. Yes, moles are as blind as the proverbial bats. Bats, perversely, aren't. And finally, the ultimate hypothetical question. Which came first, the chicken or the egg?
Chicken.
No! The egg is the right answer, yes. Yes.
There's that wonderful old joke about chicken and egg have just made love, and they're lying there having a bit of a post-coital cigarette. And the chicken says to the egg, well, that answers that old question.
But as the great scientist J.B.S. Haldane said, anyone who can ask that question obviously hasn't understood evolution, because a chicken evolved from reptiles that laid eggs themselves, so those eggs were always coming well before there was a chicken. There were eggs. So it did indeed come first, the egg. What's the longest recorded flight by a chicken in time terms, not distance?
13 seconds, isn't it? Something like that?
Yes. Yes, it is 13 seconds.
Is it really?
Yeah.
I think you're going to get a record score.
I don't claim that's true, but that is one of the oldest internet pieces of trivia I know, apart from a duck's quack does not echo and no one knows why. Which we know isn't true.
No, we know that isn't true. So, anyway, birds evolved from egg-laying reptiles, so there were definitely eggs before there were chickens. So we emerge older, but not much wiser at the end of the only quiz show to offer no answers, just more questions. But had there been answers, let's see who would hypothetically have won. And our theoretical winner tonight with 2 points is Sandy Toxvig! Notionally in second place is Elf Master General John Lloyd with -1. On paper, in third place with an extremely creditable -7, Johnny Vegas. Finally proving that it's all academic and a dream with -27, Alan Davis. So, that's all from this hypothetical edition of QI. Or is it? Yes, it is. So, it's good night from Sandy, Johnny, John, Alan and me. Good night.
There's drama here on BBC HD with The Road to Coronation Street tomorrow at 9:30. But coming up next this evening, comedy with Rev.